One of the crew members behind Spider-Man Brand New Day has accidentally teased one of the villains that are going to be in the movie, so let's check it out. So the costume prop modeler for the movie, Monica Oviedo, has created a mood board for the film's villain on Pinterest. The album was literally labeled Spider-Man, and based on the photos, there's a lot of feudal Japanese armor and samurai armor alongside ninja elements and stealth wear. There's also some stylized anime or manga influence here. This is the second time a crew member working on Spider-Man got their Pinterest leaked. I mean, the last guy created mood boards for the film's vibe and had Spider-Man on top of Hulk, and has now confirmed that Hulk's in the movie, so there's no reason to doubt this. Meaning Spider-Man is gonna fight either ninjas or samurai in Brand New Day. Not gonna lie, the thought of Spider-Man throwing hands with ninjas or samurai warriors in his new movie directed by Destin Daniel Cretton has a lot of potential. But I'm gonna have to be real, I have no idea who this villain could be. There's a lot of options. It's not Mr. Negative because Mr. Negative is Chinese. If they're going with ninjas, it could be either the Hand, the Yoshida clan, or Wraith. But if they're going the samurai route, it might be Silver Samurai. Which isn't that far-fetched because the MCU is now starting to introduce mutants and they finally have adamantium in their universe now, and Silver Samurai is a mutant and his armor is made out of adamantium. There were rumors a few months ago that Viper and Silver Samurai might be in this movie, but we don't know yet. Or maybe they're creating a brand new character for Spider-Man to fight. Or Punisher becomes the leader of the Hand and they're making a new costume for him. Michael Mando's Scorpion is the only villain confirmed for this movie so far, so unless Scorpion goes full on samurai, it's not him either. Based on everything we're hearing, it sounds like Brand New Day is gonna have a gang war, so maybe one of the gangs is full on ninjas or samurai, who knows.
Appearing in the history of Marvel Comics, commonly associated with Spider-Man and his adventures in New York, Venom was essentially a sentient alien symbiote with an amorphous lipid form that required a host to bond with to ensure its survival. In the distant past, Venom, who was the 998th generation of symbiotes, was born on the planet Clintar. As a member of the Agents of the Cosmos, its first host, an inhabitant of the Nesse world, proved to be evil and used the symbiote to carry out genocide against his home world, twisting it into a predatory and hate-filled being addicted to rage. Despite this violent start, rather than seeking to dominate its subsequent hosts, the Clintar sought only to bond with and protect them. Seeing this superhero trait as an aberration among its own species, the symbiote was eventually imprisoned by its brethren who feared it would contaminate the gene pool. The symbiote's first known human host was actually Deadpool, who came across its prison while on Battleworld, with Deadpool wearing the creature for a few minutes, hoping for a makeover before he realized it was alive and interfacing with his mind. Concerned that his sanity would adversely be affected, Deadpool returned it to its prison moments before the arrival of Spider-Man, whose own suit had been significantly damaged at this time. Releasing the symbiote from its prison, Peter then touched the black mass which began to cover his body, and much to Spider-Man's surprise, the suit could also mimic street clothes and produced a seemingly inexhaustible and stronger supply of webbing. Once back on Earth, Spider-Man wore the symbiote for some time, but grew increasingly unnerved at its autonomy. Taking it to the Fantastic Four for analysis, he then learned that the black suit was not only alive, but was also sentient, desiring to permanently bond with him. Discovering its vulnerability to sound and intense heat, Parker was able to remove it with the assistance of the Fantastic Four, only to have it escape and hide in Peter Parker's closet as a spare red and blue Spidey costume. The symbiote then attempted to bond with Spider-Man once more, who fled to the bell tower. The loud ringing of the bells, coupled with Spider-Man's rejection of it, ultimately weakened the alien and forced it to relinquish its hold over him. I think it's also important to note that even though he'd rejected it, the symbiote used its remaining strength to drag Peter to safety before fleeing through the cracks in the floors. Now, Eddie Brock, a childhood friend of Peter's and a reporter for the Daily Globe, was then fired after Spider-Man debunked his story, exposing the identity of the Sin Eater, humiliating him and ruining his career to the point where he could only find work with cheap gossip magazines. To make matters worse, Brock also found out that he had terminal adrenal cancer, and though his writing had helped him keep busy, he began to lose everything that he valued. After being disowned by his father and divorced by his wife, Eddie then entered the same bell tower from earlier with the hopes of praying for forgiveness. Attracted by his fixation to Spider-Man and his adrenal producing cancer, the symbiote forcibly began bonding with Eddie, keeping him alive and bestowing him with a unique set of powers and abilities. Unfortunately for Brock, his own hatred for Peter further twisted the symbiote's own feelings towards its former host into a fixation with either reclaiming or killing him. When bonded, Venom spoke using the first-person plural, we, signifying that Brock and the symbiote were two separate entities joined together, although on occasion Eddie also referred to it as my other and I. Together, Venom and Eddie fought Spider-Man numerous times, as well as indulging themselves into a sporadic career of vigilantism. Despite its successful bond with Eddie, the symbiote ultimately viewed him as an inferior host and saw Spider-Man as its soulmate, frequently making efforts to return to him in between its attempts to destroy him. While it initially didn't act independently of its host, the Venom symbiote was a fully sentient being with its own personality, and the transformation of its host into a predator was simply its way of protecting its hosts. One of the reasons it was enamored with Spider-Man was because through its bond with Peter, the Venom symbiote began developing a basic understanding of complex human emotions, but this was essentially cut short with Peter's heartbreaking rejection of it. Without a host, the symbiote also found itself in a weaker state, which left it vulnerable, and this was the reason why it both loved and hated him so much. As its corruption worsened, the symbiote became arrogant, scornful, and sadistic, berating its hosts for their shortcomings and openly stating that Brock was a second-rate host compared to Spider-Man.